people we have here. We're gonna. I wanted to welcome you all. We're gonna wait 1 or 2 more minutes for everyone to join. Yeah, I see people are coming in. All right, we're 2 minutes in, and I think it's time to start. I wanted to welcome you all to this webinar. Your sound is slightly funny. Thank you. I'm not sure how I can maybe change to a headset. Maybe like this. Is that better?
That's much better. Can you turn it up just a little bit? But that's much better.
All right. Good. So this has been a very interesting year. One of the things that I got to do this year was speak to a lot more of our partners.
Marcus, the sound is low. Will you please turn up the volume?
Not sure how.
Probably on your headset.
Does this help?
Not so much. But maybe you can just speak a little louder.
All right.
There we go. That's great. That's great.
Yeah, never had any problems. Been on 5 calls today. How about now? Can you hear me? Is that or is it still the same?
It's a little muted, but I think we can. There's a minute where it really clicked in. I think everyone could probably hear you very clearly, and then.
Okay, maybe I'll hold it like this.
Thank you, sir.
All right, good. So yeah, like I said, I've been talking to a lot of our partners and clients this year, and what I got to hear were amazing stories of bravery and survival, and also success, and in many cases losses, and how to deal with those. But what I found out is that collectively, all these stories, they are really inspirational for others as well. And I thought, let's put together a webinar around the theme. And the theme here is what happened in 2020 and what can we learn from it in 2021. Now we're going to start with a short round of introductions so everyone knows who's on here. And I would encourage you all to ask questions in the chat or the Q&A. We're going to have some time for questions later, but we got some very good names here on today. So let me start with Ben Painter from Dromore.
Hi there. Thank you, Marcus. Hi. So I'm Ben Painter. I'm the co-founder of Dromore. Just to give you a really quick background, we started back in 2017 of February with the intention of increasing yields in London, looking at loads of different things. We realized pretty quickly short-term letting was the easiest way for us to do that. So we focused our energy there. And we sort of just looked at yields kind of all over the UK, which brought us on to different cities. So we started it then in Manchester and Cardiff. So that was kind of where we started. Where we are now is that we currently have 280 active units across 11 cities in the UK. And we are currently, once we're allowed to, going to set up in Barcelona as well. And we generally do take on anything from sort of blocks of single rooms to some of the kind of top short-term let properties that we get in London as well. So that's Dromore.
All right, then we have Pontus Kruth from Guest It here. Would you like to introduce yourself quickly?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Thanks for having me here. My name is Pontus, and I'm the CEO of a company called Guest It, started back in 2017. We are located today in Sweden. We have about 200 listings during the main and off season, and it can come up to about 300 during the summers. We're doing this in 2 of the biggest cities, Stockholm and Gothenburg, also in a seasonal ski resort up in the north of Sweden, which is enormously popular during the winter time. And we're focusing not 100%, but close to 100% on short-term rental. During the pandemic, of course, we're looking into other options that I think that many of you as well has been doing, but more on that later. So thank you.
All right, thank you very much and welcome. Andrew?
I'll take it away. Hi all, welcome. Excited to spend time with you all today and kind of share any learnings and stories that we have from what has been this incredibly wild year. So I'm the CEO of Wheelhouse. Wheelhouse is a revenue management platform to help short-term rentals optimize their performance. Something that I think we can all agree that kind of 2021 is going to look unique from past years. So hopefully our company can be helpful in helping you handle a very difficult time for our whole industry. My background is in both software and operations, so have built Wheelhouse, founded Beyond Pricing as well. Also built a company called Lyric. Lyric was a premium short-term rental operator. We built out operations in 15 US markets, about 700 different properties. We developed about 700 different properties over the course of about 4 years of operating, and are now 100% focused on software. So we are out of the operations game, at least until post-COVID. We'll share more about that as we go, but definitely come today to both share and learn everything I possibly can. Thanks.
All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Marcus. I'm usually known as Marcus from Hostaway. As you can see on the name here, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Hostaway. We're a property management system and channel manager in one, and we have grown tremendously over the years. And yeah, this has been a very interesting year for us, especially since our customers are so diverse in the locations. You know, this, however 2020 has looked for you, it has looked very differently depending on where someone else is in the world. And we got customers all the way from New Zealand to, well, Finland, for example. Now, the first question I wanted to ask is if you wanted to share a bit of how has 2020 been for you overall, and especially looking back now in March, how did you first react? So maybe Pontus, you can start and share a bit on how things were in your end of the world.
Sure. So before we had the ski resort up in the north of Sweden, we do have a pretty normal season between November until March. That's when things are starting to get kicking up again in Sweden. But yeah, this year was the first run with the ski resort. We did a really good job. We had a fully booked. It was a great season with a lot of snow, a lot of tourists coming. So we were on the way of just building up for the summer, planning to recruit more people because preparations for the summer housing, summer listings. But it all came to a quick stop here with the COVID the news started in December, and we're pretty much out of business in April. That's when we dropped about 80 to 90% of all our bookings. In the same moment when Airbnb let everybody book, cancel their bookings for free. So of course it was a mental roller coaster. But thanks to the restriction policy in Sweden, we have been a bit more open than the rest of the world, it seems like. So people have been traveling here somehow, and we started to get some bookings going on again from August until today, which is somewhat positive thing. But that's a kind of a short recap for my 2020.
All right, sounds pretty wild. Andrew, you're in the States. How are things gone there?
Obviously, it's been a difficult year. I mean, from an operations perspective, we ended up laying off about 85% of our organization when things hit, and we were in 24 different properties at the time. We have moved out of every single property, which is a lot of work. So can definitely empathize with the challenges of really shifting operations, where in our case, we're fully urban. Our properties were designed for business travelers in particular. It's pretty tough to survive that when COVID hit. Our occupancy rates plummeted. I mean, in some cases went to zero, right? So that was difficult for sure. I think from a broader step back perspective, I was extremely nervous about the industry. I thought, I think there'd been some very interesting developments over the past couple of years of kind of professionalization of the category and investors starting to look at the category in a new light, people building more established brands within the category. Those had all been very interesting themes over the past couple of years that I was really nervous about. And I would say the surprise and kind of the most exciting part of the year has been seeing how resilient certain both companies, individuals, brands, in some cases markets have been. And now kind of moving forward into 2021, how much I think strangely COVID has legitimized the short-term rental space as probably moving forward, increasingly the dominant inventory type for travel. So, or for hospitality stays. So despite a difficult personal year and kind of a bunch of questions for a while about the category, including even will Airbnb survive, I'm now in the other camp of holy smokes. If anything, COVID has illustrated the strength and the benefits of these kind of this more distributed, well-managed properties. Has introduced a whole new range of customers to the product. So I say, yes, 2020, very weird year, lots of tough lessons personally. 2021, very interesting, lots of opportunities for all of us.
All right, I can say on my side, we had actually, after working many years building a company from scratch, we finally felt like we got it working in around late last year, and it was like a beautiful machine that we had built from scratch, and it was just racing down the road. It was really beautiful to see, and then suddenly out of nowhere, it was out of gas. Machine still works, but it's out of gas. That's what happened in March. It was also interesting because we have our team members in different offices around the world. And for example, Barcelona in Spain, we have a large staff there that took a really bad hit. It was the second worst country in the beginning after Italy, and even today it's pretty bad. But they had terrible lockdowns, and same here in Canada. We very early on recognized that this is too unpredictable. This is too unsafe. And although some of our customers thought this will be a few weeks or a few months and we'll all be back to normal, we didn't think so. And as a result of that, we had to let a lot of people go, a lot of really talented, promising people as well. And I think that's one of the hardest things to do. But yeah, the resilience really found its way through. We saw that in fact this will accelerate the growth of our industry. It will accelerate the more dynamic supply of real estate, and also consumers will become more accustomed. For example, people have tried Airbnb this year that have never done it before, simply because they haven't even traveled in that category. And that's something that was going to happen, but it's been accelerated now. And that's why I'm very, very positively looking forward to 2021. All right, Ben, how was your year?
My year, I guess, to be completely honest, it was a roller coaster of emotions. So I guess almost similar to you, Marcus, at the start of the year, we kind of put everything in place to get the company running well, and we were going to really grow. And January and February, we saw that. But then obviously in March, everyone knows what happens. But what it meant for us in the UK was that when the lockdown got announced, that we lost 95% of our booking pipeline over the space of 2 days, which was a pretty big bump back to reality. So the first couple of weeks, we didn't really know what help was going to be offered, and we didn't really know what the best route forward was. Like I say, luckily here in the UK, we got government help, which allowed us to kind of basically keep most of our team and just kind of run on tick over. So we were basically a dormant company until about June time. And then in June, we got sales back up and running. Even though the UK at that point was still under heavy restrictions, we just felt that we had to do something. And one of the things that actually we found that was really good with the lockdown is that there were so many people we had been trying to reach on a sales side who were suddenly reachable where we couldn't get hold of them before. And basically this resulted in us being able to operate a student block, a really big student block for over 6 weeks in the summer, which we ran at nearly 100% occupancy. So this very much for us turned kind of a year around, and that was a real turning point for us. And then since then, our focus has been on properties that you traditionally wouldn't have entered this market. Such as student blocks or rent to rents, where traditionally they wouldn't have looked at this space. Now we are their only plan B, really, and that's where we have got a lot of opportunities from, which has allowed us to survive, really.
Wow, that sounds quite like a roller coaster, indeed. I think that's common for pretty much everyone in the industry. I'd be surprised if you find an area or a business that hasn't been affected at all by this. But thank you very much for sharing. It's not, I think we will all remember this year, but now it's time to look forward. Now, one of the great things this year is that this has been a year of opportunity. A lot of previous opportunities that we took for given have been taken away from us. But on the other hand, every crisis can be an opportunity. And that's my next question. What have you learned in 2020 and what of that will you bring into 2021? So we could start here with Andrew.
All right, me first. What have I learned in 2020? What am I taking forward in 2021? I think the thing I'm still learning is how the markets are going to shift and what kind of the next generation of customer and stay patterns looks like across the world. I think what's been historically true about the hospitality space writ large for the last multiple decades is where you've had localized downturns in areas such as New Orleans post-Katrina or New York post-9/11, et cetera. You've had localized market downturns. Most operators have been able to rely on relatively predictable historic demand patterns. So they'll see seasonality at the same times, they'll see length of stay relatively similar, et cetera. And what I've been really interested in is seeing how everything has changed from people are obviously staying far longer. So a lot of professional operators in the US are now seeing an average length of stay of 28 days in urban markets. Now, for contrast, urban hotels pre-COVID were averaging about a day and a half stay as the average length of stay. So massive shift in who's staying and how long people are staying, as well as a far greater number of people are extending stays. So that's a really interesting pattern, kind of part one. Part two is kind of like, where are they going to stay? And I think what's been really interesting to see is how much more quickly the short-term rental space responded post-COVID versus hotels. And we're still looking for hotels to bounce back in a meaningful way in the US. But there could be some negative associations with the hotels coming out of COVID that actually linger for a long time. So I'm really interested to see as the market recovers, where do people travel once we're kind of back to, let's call it quote unquote normal again. So how long people stay, where they stay, and then when they book, right? So we're also seeing a lot of people who used to, markets used to book up sooner or farther in the future. And now we're seeing a huge percent of bookings shift to kind of 5 or 10 days before a stay date, meaning all of a sudden the traditional pricing approaches that people took in the past might be wrong. And your pacing, any sort of pacing that your portfolio might have done, you might need to rethink that. So much is still changing. I would say I'm still learning about it. But what I learned in 2020 is that you got to throw out everything you knew. And in 2021, it's time to kind of look with fresh eyes on your market and find those opportunities, those customers, those booking patterns that are going to put your business in a great place.
All right. Thank you. I'm going to go next. First of all, in the last 5 years, we've grown so rapidly that we've just tried to do everything we have to do to keep growing. And when that suddenly came to we basically hit a wall in March and April. One of the main lessons that we learned is we started looking at the numbers. And when I say the numbers, I'm not underestimating it. We literally have hundreds and hundreds of different metrics that we started following just to find out what's going on. And what we were able to take out of that was absolutely amazing. we were suddenly able to prioritize what we do in the business. We were suddenly able to give credit. We were able to fix problems before they even appeared. And that's at least something that will not only take us into 2021, but stay with us forever. And that's something that I can recommend every business to do. And especially if there's a slow season or downtime, just stopping a bit and looking around, seeing what you're doing, and see, can you put a number on that? That can be incredibly helpful. Then another thing that I learned is that the vision you have for your company, it really gets under a test. It really gets put on trial when you have a black swan event, when you have a shock happening. And if your faith doesn't bend, if you manage to survive, that vision becomes just stronger. Like I mentioned before, things have accelerated in the industry, and we're starting to see, for example, longer stays, staycations, things that I always saw where the industry was going. Now it's been accelerated. New technologies have taken into place, like smart locks. People who were thinking about getting smart locks in the past have now done it, actually. And that's, yeah, those are the two lessons that I can take: the numbers and the vision. How about you, Ben?
I think, although it may sound obvious, I think the two things that I'm really taking away from 2020 is that anything can change. Like you can go along thinking everything is fine for an extended period of time, and then obviously this year has proved that the unthinkable can actually happen. And when that does happen, I guess my biggest learning of this year is that, especially as an operator, what matters most is the strength of your relationships. So, for example, all of our suppliers, cleaners particularly, when everything happened, we weren't able to pay everyone on time, but it was those good relationships that meant that they could keep operating for us, even though that we were behind. And that is a massive takeaway for me, is that it doesn't matter how kind of big or small one of your suppliers or someone that works for you or someone you work with is, that is a really important thing to kind of work on. I think 2021 is obviously great. This webinar has come at quite a good time, because obviously we've just had the news of the vaccines being approved, and I think there's a lot of good energy that has finally come around, particularly with people traveling again. And I think what we have seen with lockdowns happening and then being lifted and then being implemented again and then being lifted is that the industry responds almost immediately, and a lot faster than more traditional industries in the space, like you mentioned hotels. And I think that we will bounce back well. Where I think the challenge is going to be is actually going to be the stock as an operator. So I think if I look at my stock at the moment, a lot of it is properties that are kind of with us because their plan A doesn't work and we're their plan B. And before that, traditionally, we went for individual owners. And I don't know if the individual owners will maybe be jumping to do this again. They might need a little bit of time for things to settle before they really buy into this sort of product again. And I think, although some will, I don't know if the same numbers will be there. So I think the main question kind of for us going into 2021 is where are the most amount of clients going to come from? What, on the business side or on the commercial side, the customer side, what's going to be the biggest amount of property that we can take on to kind of use as short-term rentals? Yeah, so I think for me that's where I stand on things at the moment.
All right, thank you very much. Now, Pontus, what are you taking away from 2020 and into 2021?
Yeah, it's been it's been a wild ride. I think a few things that was very interesting is that we found kind of a new customer segment that appeared. We had a lot of private owners, people who owns one or two properties, apartments that is, had to move home for different reasons, and yet they stopped renting out with us. And on the other hand, you see that real estate owners who owns real estate properties, buildings, and etc., they lost their tenants in many ways. And in that case, we found an opening to acquire these real estate people, like customers, and it has been working out really great with short-term rental. So we get their properties filled with people coming to rent their homes, and they're still making money during this pandemic when they can't get long-term customers such as big companies and etc. It's open up. I mean, we open up the eyes and finding new ways to grow. We're going into some kind of survival mode. You want to find every source of income possible. So you really start thinking on expanding your business, trying new things, and etc. And it's giving us a huge information and huge knowledge on what we possibly can do that we didn't really pay attention to before the crisis. So yeah, what is really important, it becomes very clear thanks to the emergency that you're in. You have a lot of processes that you thought maybe was very good, but then you realize they were pretty useless. So you just cut them off, and you realize that you could have done that before, even saving a lot of money on those things. I mean, that's the positive aspects of it. And of course, very thankful for the team sticking together. It's been a few rough months where there is not really much to do, and then people are a bit worried about the future for the company, etc. But yeah, enormously happy for that. So in many ways, instead of like stop working or cutting down on it, we were doubling down and start building our systems. We made them work better. We prepared them. We became much more scalable than it was before the crisis. So we used all of our dead time into upgrading ourselves. So I mean, we're sitting here on a bomb ready to explode into 2021 with a much more stronger and better system that we had before. So it's enormously exciting to look forward with this in the portfolio right now.
So glad to hear that. Yeah, Andrew, how are things looking on your end?
In 2021, what I'm interested in this year is the kind of, I kind of mentioned this already, but it's the professionalization of the category. So I think there aren't necessarily huge headlines around this yet, but in the US, one of the largest private equity shops has put about $1 billion into a short-term rental operator, kind of partnering a property management company with an operating company. There's obviously been recent announcements of fundraisers from teams like Kasai in Mexico City. That round was led by Andreessen Horowitz, probably the premier venture firm in the world. There are the largest hotel REITs are looking at serious acquisitions in the category, not only of multifamily buildings, but single family homes, at least in the US. So I'm super interested how the continued professionalization of the category, kind of how that evolves. Personally, what our approach to that is since we focus on revenue management, we're really kind of continue to roll out a set of tools for professional operators, really. So how do you manage a portfolio as it scales and you have more than 1, 2, 3, 4 properties, and you're starting to do portfolio management and you have different operating costs? Like, how do you really maximize revenue from the portfolio? I'm pretty pumped about the set of tools we develop for professionals. And when I say professionals, I think in the past that referred to call people with up to kind of 500 or 1,000 listings. Now we're going to see people start to truly break into the 10,000, 50,000, et cetera. These really large portfolios, I think, are going to evolve, and very eager to kind of see what tooling is required to maximize performance of those portfolios. But yeah, it's just it continues to be a fascinating professionalizing landscape for those well-positioned. Like Pontus said, like a lot of people have the potential to grow a lot this year, and like I'm very excited to see that happen. / fuel it.
All right, good. Then we have one final question before we go to the audience. If you have any questions, you can already post them in the chat here. And I think both Ben and Pontus mentioned before that you have been able to create new processes and new parts of your business. So I wanted to ask, since we're all in the technology space here, what software have you seen, or what process have you changed that will help you and others in 2021? Maybe Pontus, you can give us some insights into the bomb.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, we have in-house cleaning, for example. So we do have we have a group of people that we have employed for cleaning the apartments. The process that we've been doing and working with apartments, you're dealing with maintenance, and you're dealing with daily cleanings. You're dealing with logistics regarding bed sheets and other consumables that has to go in and out to the apartment. This is an operation that we believed was pretty good and pretty efficient. But once you have time to look closely to it, you realize there's a lot of steps that can be improved. And on the office level, I mean, delivering tasks to each other and sending information to our owners, to our guests, using automated templates, messages. We had time to look through pretty much everything. And we've been working on automating as much as we can now. So the goal here is definitely to have a customer being able to book after going through a screening process. But then after that, it should be purely automatic until the guest checks out, the cleaner receives a task, the cleaner goes there without a saying, cleans the apartment, does a quality check, and then the new guest is ready to come without the touch of a button. And this is what we're trying to aim for. That is has severely helped us being able to scale like ever before. I mean, the main word would be less hands-on time, I guess, on each and every operation of this short-term rental. And yeah, as always, I mean, I've been managing. I've been working as a manager for many years now, and I'm surprised. I came in to Guest It just a little bit of one and a half year ago, and the team that was there, we've been sticking together and building each other up, and then you realize how if you have a strong and agile team, you realize that there's probably nothing that can stop you. I think it's a very fundamental thing to have this strong group together when dealing with this kind of crisis.
All right, Andrew, how about you?
It's going to be a continuation of a theme. So again, I think 2021 is going to be kind of a year of a new level of professionalization of the category, right? Airbnb is going to IPO. What I've been seeing in the software space is a proliferation of tools, or said differently, a lot more tools emerging. I would kind of challenge everyone on this call that this year might be the year to really think about incorporating technology into your operations as well. And some of the technologies I think are very interesting include technologies that stitch together IoT devices. So there's a platform called Operto based out of Canada. I think it's an excellent platform for IoT devices, really good team, really good technology. That's Operto is very interesting to me. I think another very interesting product is a product called Wishbox. Wishbox is guest communications, but it's also upsells. Right. So this might be the year when the short-term rental space starts to become better, not just at revenue management, but revenue generation. And I think that's going to be an interesting trend for people to invest in. But I think the other thing I would stress is because professionalization of the category is emerging, and because we're starting to see things such as, marketplaces are starting to privilege people who have like verified cleaning via Properly or via other kind of partnerships that are emerging. Technology is going to become a mainstay for any operator. I think this is probably, we're going to start to see the year where, again, you're going to continue to see the emergence of a lot more great professional tools, but also marketplaces increasingly relying on those professional tools to kind of keep supply in really good order. So I would encourage everyone that 2021 is the year where, yes, the space is going to continue to grow and become more competitive, but it's a great year to really lean in around a lot of technologies that are emerging that can truly help you run your business better, allow you to spend more time with your guests, allow you to make more money. So plenty of other software ideas. Please send me a note, andrew@usewheelhouse.com, if you have more questions, but I just keep a long running list of all the softwares I like and happy to share more at any point. Of course, Hostaway too. Come on. So.
Thank you very much. I almost thought you were pitching Hostaway there, because one of the things we've done this year is of course make sure that we have a solid marketplace where all these great partners like Wheelhouse can provide dynamic pricing. But we haven't even announced all these, but we're fully integrated now with Wishbox, Aperto, and Breezeway. And what we've seen, the demand in the market for technology this year has been at a much more rapid pace than before. Basically, the changes needed in the industry, like Ben touched on earlier here, the industry has been able to adapt much faster than hotels. Yeah, but technology has to adapt as well. So to give a couple of examples, we very quickly started working on improving everything related to direct bookings, because that's something that a lot of hosts lost faith in the OTAs due to the terms. But also a lot of guests, they don't want to use an OTA. You don't want to give your money to some third party when nobody really knows what's going to happen. But you know, that cottage you stayed at 2 years ago, you could call the owner and do a direct booking instead. So we built a lot of tools for that, and especially monetizing those and keeping track of those. And financial reporting, another one that's very important. The owners were very worried this year on whether they're able to pay their mortgages or not. So giving them real-time access to see exactly what's going on has been on the top of mind to ease a bit of the stress of the property managers here. And I also mentioned a couple of partnerships that we've had. One thing that that to add on to what Pontus said, automating things is really important. And for example, automating the check-in using services like Breezeway or checkin.io, but also guest verification. We partner with a company called autohost.ai. And yeah, there's a lot of technology to be used. And yeah, if anyone wants a review of their stack or wondering what they should do, you can always reach out to me at marcus@hostaway.com. And yeah, Ben, what have you discovered this year?
Well, I think also, like same as Pontus, to be honest, like automation for us was always like a big aim, but I think it gave us the time during lockdown to basically look into where we could be automating things that we're not already automating. Give a bit of background on that. Dromor's kind of ethos is to basically run as many properties as possible with as little people as possible. So automation for us basically from day one has been very key. And so we were looking to expand on that. And, you know, obviously with things like pricing, we already use Wheelhouse to kind of help with the automation of pricing and everything like that. But we were looking at ways that maybe we could expand the automation. And there are a couple of things that we came across, which we started using. One of which I absolutely love is you can get these devices called Minute devices, MINUT. Effectively, it looks like a smoke alarm, goes on the roof of your home, and it monitors how many people are in your home and how much noise they're making. It then syncs with our PMS software. And if the guest makes, for example, 75 decibels for over 5 minutes, it then will automatically send a text to the guest telling them to quieten down, and then notify our team to get in touch with the guest as well. It also tells us how many people are in that property as well. So obviously a big issue that everyone knows as being an operator is parties. So for this, first of all, it's a great pitch point when you're trying to bring on properties, because you basically know you can get someone around. And second of all as well, it just allows you to keep monitoring what's going on as well. The other product we came on live with this year as well is Superhog, which is an insurance software that basically historically was Guardhog, who I think definitely in the UK ties up the insurance market. Superhog, basically, they have a database of any guests that have had a claim with them. The guest, when they book, gets a link to follow. They take a photo of their face, photo of their ID. If there has been a claim in that guest in any city, any platform in the last 3 years, flags on there as a bad guest and we can cancel the booking. So for us, it was about making sure that stuff was more protected and doing it in the most automated way possible. So we've got protection at the start and during the stay, and also the end as well, because that insurance covers from £50 up to £1 million as well. So we've got breakages covered that would usually be covered under a deposit as well. So they're the two main new bits of tech that we've started using, which for us has been a real game changer.
It's great. Love that. Those are great suggestions. So Super Hog and Minute, right?
Yeah, I 100% rate both of them. They're brilliant.
Yep. And there are NoiseAware is another great device similar for noise monitoring, and Safely AI is another great company too for insurance, but which allows you to turn kind of actually damage deposits into a new revenue stream for folks. So again, really creative ways for people to leverage technology to both, improve operations and actually make more money. So really good suggestions, Ben.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Good to hear about new technology. I'm gonna check out Minute. We're already integrated with NoiseAware and Party Squasher, and actually Superhog is one of our latest partners as well. So I'm glad you mentioned them. Now, I can see there's not many questions from the audience. If someone has a question, you can raise your hand or post it in the chat. Any questions? No? Okay, well then, Ben, Pontus, and Andrew, I would like to thank you very much for participating here. And a recording will be available if someone wants to share it with your colleagues. But thanks to all our attendees for joining as well. Hope you learned something, and have a good 2021, everyone.
Thank you, Marcus.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marcus. Appreciate it. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Pontus. Be well.
Yeah. Thanks. Bye.
Cheers. Bye.